Namaskar. A warm welcome to the World News, an Indian perspective on Akashvani. This is Gitanjali Hurriya Mathur bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you to the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh says government has made transformative changes in defence sector by promoting self-reliance. BRICS foreign ministers call for use of local currencies in international trade. India's Minister of State for External Affairs V. Muralidharan to pay official visit to Maldives from Saturday. US Congress averts historic default, approves debt ceiling bill. Argentina's Celeste Solo appointed as first female Secretary General of World Meteorological Organization. At least 9 persons killed in Senegal protests following opposition leaders' jail sentence. And in badminton, Indian shuttler Lakshya Sen enters semi-finals of Thailand Open 2023. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has said the government has made transformative changes in the defence sector by promoting self-reliance. Addressing an event in New Delhi on Friday, he said that the government has emphasized manufacturing of state-of-art weapons for the use of Indian forces. He said that the country's domestic defence production has crossed the 1 lakh crore rupees mark recently. Mr. Rajnath Singh said a strong military not only secures the borders but also protects the culture and economy of a country. The minister said that the government is working to build a developed India by the year 2047 by focusing on all sectors of the country. Mr. Singh highlighted the measures taken in the field of economy, defence, education, governance and women empowerment. Terming India as a resurgent superpower, the minister said that the government has brought a sea change in the tax structure and promoted ease of doing business in the country. He said record tax collection was made in the last financial year and foreign investors are seeing India as an attractive destination for investment. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said the sweat and toil of farmers plays a big role in the country's progress and their relentless work is the backbone of food security. In a tweet on Friday, Mr. Modi said it has been 9 years of government to keep on empowering Annadatas. He said that the government is ensuring that the agriculture sector scales new heights of growth. The Prime Minister also lauded the record wheat procurement of over 260 lakh metric tons during the ongoing Rabi marketing season. Talking to Akashvani News, Additional Secretary in the Department of Food and Public Distribution, Subodh K. Singh said the wheat procurement so far has surpassed last year's total procurement of 188 lakh metric tons by 74 lakh metric tons. According to the Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution Ministry, a quantity of 385 lakh metric tons of rice has been procured till the end of last month during the Kharif marketing season 2022-23. India's President Draupadi Murmu will be on a state visit to Suriname and Serbia from 4th to 9th of June. During the first leg of a visit, President will visit Suriname from 4th to 6th of June. This will be her maiden state visit after assuming the office of President. Briefing media, Mr. Saurabh Kumar, Secretary East, Ministry of External Affairs, said that the visit assumes historical significance as President Murmu will be the chief guest at the 150th anniversary celebrations of the arrival of Indians in Suriname. The anniversary will be celebrated on the 5th of June. Indians were taken to Suriname for the first time in 1873 to work on plantations. Talking about the India-Suriname bilateral relations, Mr. Kumar said both nations enjoy warm and friendly relations.
India-Suriname relations are warm and friendly and acquire special significance on account of Indian diaspora, which is over 27% of the Suriname population. Our bilateral relations span sectors such as trade and commerce, development partnership, capacity building, agriculture, and people-to-people ties. Suriname has been supportive of India in the international fora.
Mr. Kumar also highlighted the role of Indian diaspora as a living bridge between the two countries.
The Indian diaspora in Suriname acts as a living bridge between the two countries. Despite the passage of time, the diaspora has preserved the customs and traditions it carried from India while adding local flavors.
Mr. Saurabh Kumar said that the visit not only reflects the goodwill between the two countries, but also reflects India's growing stature on the global stage. On the second leg of a visit, the President will visit Serbia from 7th to 9th of June. At the invitation of President Aleksandar Vučić, briefing the Media Secretary West, Mr. Sanjay Verma stated that this is the first ever state visit of head of state between the two countries. A special feature of the second leg of the visit will be the participation of 20-member business delegation from India. The focus of the visit is to encourage the business communities of both countries to explore possibilities and prospects of business opportunities. India has expressed hope that Chinese authorities will facilitate the continued presence of Indian journalists working and reporting from China. External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said in New Delhi that these two sides continue to remain in touch regarding this issue.
All foreign journalists, including Chinese journalists, have been pursuing journalist activities in India without any limitations or difficulties in reporting or in doing their media coverage. Meanwhile, Indian journalists in China have been operating with certain difficulties, such as not being permitted to hire locals as correspondents or as journalists. We would hope that Chinese authorities facilitate the continued presence of Indian journalists in working and reporting from China.
The External Affairs Ministry has also told that the forthcoming summit of Shanghai Cooperation Organization (SCO) Council of Heads of State will be held on the 4th of next month in a virtual format. MEA spokesperson said preparations for the successful organization and holding of the summit are underway. Mr. Bagchi said India is confident that the summit will produce notable outcomes. The theme of the SCO summit is towards a secure SCO. The SECURE acronym was coined by Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the 2018 SCO summit and stands for Security, Economy and Trade, Connectivity, Unity, Respect for Sovereignty and Territorial Integrity and Environment. These themes have been highlighted during India's chairmanship of SCO. India assumed the rotating chairmanship of SCO at the Samarkand summit on the 16th of September last year. The Government of India has urged the German authorities to do all that is necessary to send baby Ariha Shah to India at the earliest, which is also her inalienable right as an Indian national. During a media briefing in New Delhi, External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said that India remains committed to ensuring the return of Ariha Shah from Germany. He said the Ministry of External Affairs and Embassy of India in Berlin have been persistently advocating for the return of baby to India. The child is an Indian national and was placed in the custody of Germany's Youth Welfare Office in September 2021 when she was 7 months old, and she has now been in foster care for more than 20 months. He added that India's efforts have been guided by the best interests of the child, which we believe can be fully realized only when she is in her home country where her socio-cultural rights can be safeguarded. The foreign ministers of BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, have encouraged the use of local currencies in international trade, saying that the world economy has been complicated by sanctions and boycotts. In a joint statement issued on Friday in Foreign Ministers' meeting in Cape Town, the ministers covered a range of topics from international trade to peace resolutions for the Ukraine conflict. The joint statement reiterated China and Russia's explicit support for India, Brazil and South Africa's aspirations to play a greater role in UN Security Council. The joint statement also expressed appreciation for proposals of mediation and peaceful resolution of the Ukraine conflict through dialogue and diplomacy. The BRICS foreign ministers also called for greater use of local currencies in international trade. Ministers underscored the importance of encouraging the use of local currencies in international trade and financial transactions between BRICS as well as their trading partners. The BRICS brings together 5 of the largest developing countries of the world, representing 41% of the global population, 24% of the global GDP, and 16% of the global trade. India's Minister of State for External Affairs, V. Muralidharan, will be on a 2-day official visit to Maldives from Saturday. During the visit, Mr. Muralidharan will participate in the groundbreaking ceremony of Gan International Airport at Adu City, the second largest city in island nation. He will also participate in the ceremony for the commencement of works of Adu Reclamation Project. In Adu, the minister will also inaugurate high-impact community development projects built under India's grant assistance. Mr. Muralidharan will also meet the leadership of Maldives. Ministry of External Affairs said the visit will also see the signing of agreements related to bilateral development cooperation in Maldives. The ministry said Maldives is India's key maritime neighbor in the Indian Ocean region and occupies a special place in Prime Minister's vision of Sagar, security and growth for all in the region and neighborhood first policy. Ministry of External Affairs said this visit is expected to lend further momentum to substantive cooperation and robust people-to-people ties between the two countries. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a commentary on growing synergies in India-Cambodia relations.
The King of Cambodia, Norodom Sihamoni's visit to India not only marks the India-Cambodia diplomatic relationship of 70 years, but was also indicative of the fruits of painstaking diplomacy India had engaged with Cambodia. Despite historic and contemporary connections between the two countries, the bilateral relationship had remained underutilized, especially in the economic, trade and security spheres. However, the increasing attractiveness of India's economy had made it possible for the two countries to deepen their engagement. In their meeting, Prime Minister Modi and King Norodom underscored the deep civilizational ties, strong cultural and people-to-people connections between both countries. The Prime Minister assured the Cambodian King of India's resolve to strengthen the bilateral partnership with Cambodia across diverse areas including capacity building. His Majesty thanked the Prime Minister for India's ongoing initiatives in development cooperation and conveyed his appreciation and best wishes for India's presidency of the G20. In ancient times, Indian civilizational influence was profound in the Cambodian culture, religion, and architectural landscape. In modern times, India was the first country to recognize Cambodia after the fall of the Khmer Rouge in 1979, and the diplomatic recognition led India to assist under-sanctioned Cambodia economically. In addition, India signed the 1991 Paris Peace Agreement that contributed to the peace process in Cambodia. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has emphasized India's Act East policy, and as a result, diplomacy prioritized the Southeast Asian region. India is motivated to expand its interaction with Cambodia with an emphasis on strengthening civilizational connections. For instance, the Archaeological Survey of India restored the Angkor Wat temple in Cambodia and is restoring the temple complex in Ta Prohm, which is expected to be completed in 2026. When, in November 2022, India's Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar visited Cambodia, he inaugurated the Hall of Dancers, a section at Ta Prohm. Temple restoration in Cambodia is not a new role for the ASI, which started in 1986 and continues with the commencement of work in Preah Vihar, one of the oldest temples dedicated to Lord Shiva. The two countries signed a protocol on mine clearance in June 2022. India funded a mine-free village project in Kokong province to help the villagers living there. In addition, providing prosthetic limbs to affected Cambodians has also been extended. A way to push for deeper engagement in this area is being considered by the two sides to establish 2 health centers under the Jaipur Foot Prosthetics program in the near future. In November 2022, India also signed 4 MOUs with Cambodia in the field of health and medicine and the reintroduction of tigers in Cambodia, which would include capacity building for a tiger ecosystem, one between the Indian Institute of Technology and the Cambodian Institute of Technology to increase collaboration in education and digital conservation of cultural heritage, and an MOU on the financial agreement on conservation and preservation of paintings in Wat Raja Bo Pagoda in Siem Reap. India also engages in other areas of cooperation such as the Indian Technical and Economic Cooperation and Mekong-Ganga Cooperation. Under the Mekong-Ganga Cooperation, India has assisted Cambodia in establishing the Asian Traditional Textile Museum at Siem Reap. While implementing quick impact projects that target education, health, sanitation, ecotourism and infrastructure, India has completed 31 projects and 17 are under implementation. India also organized Sanskrit Day celebrations in August 2022 to highlight the linkages between Sanskrit and Khmer language. In terms of infrastructure, water resources and parts transmission lines around $100 million have been extended to Cambodia. India also held training courses for the Royal Cambodian Armed Forces and has extended a grant of $1.5 million for the procurement of demining equipment, transfer of sniffer dogs, and a $50 million line of credit for capacity building. India also conducted its first army-to-army staff talks in April 2023. In terms of economics and trade, India would also advance interport connectivity between Kolkata and Paradip Port, which would enhance its reach towards Sittwe Port and towards Cambodia and other Southeast Asian countries, thereby increasing maritime connectivity between the two. Whether it is joining the International Solar Alliance or participating in the Big Cat Alliance, India-Cambodia bilateral relationship is moving forward in many sectors. Cambodia is looking towards welcoming Indian investments in its country, especially after the visit of the Indian business delegation to the country in April 2023. India has given its consent to setting up specialty hospitals and expanding road, rail and digital connectivity. Cambodia is keen to utilize Indian expertise to upskill its youth so as to increase its economic opportunities in the fintech industries in the country. The visit of the King of Cambodia to India represents a bright future for both countries as Cambodia looks towards benefiting from Indian economic success and development.
This is Akashvani giving you the world news. India's Unified Payments Interface UPI registered a record of more than 9 billion transactions last month, amounting to over 14 lakh crore rupees. According to National Payments Corporation of India, NPCI, UPI recorded a total of 9.41 billion transactions in May 2023. In financial year 2022-23, the payment system processed a total of 83 billion transactions, amounting to a value of 139 lakh crore rupees. India's homegrown payment system, Unified Payments Interface, UPI, is one of the globally accepted payment systems and has emerged as a trusted payment mode ever since its launch in 2016. India G20 South Centre event on international taxation concluded successfully on Friday at Nagpur as per a statement released by the Ministry of Finance. The two-day event on international taxation was organized on 1st and 2nd of June in collaboration with the South Centre, a Geneva-based intergovernmental policy research think tank of 55 developing countries. The meeting's outcome was the historic two-pillar solution to address the tax challenges arising from digitalization of the economy. The event was an initiative of Indian Presidency to bolster capacity building for Indian tax officials of both senior and middle management levels in the area of international taxation with a Global South perspective. The U.S. Congress has approved a deal to lift the country's borrowing limit days before the world's largest economy is due to default on its debt. The bipartisan measure sped through the Senate by a vote of 63-36, a day after it cleared the U.S. House of Representatives. President Joe Biden has said he will enact the measure into law. His signature on the bill will spare the US from catastrophic default on its $31.4 trillion debt. The country is forecast to overshoot its current debt ceiling on the 5th of this month. A default would limit the government's ability to borrow more money or pay all of its bills, and also threaten to wreak havoc overseas, affecting prices and mortgage rates in other countries. Argentina's Celeste Solo has been appointed as the first female Secretary General, and United Arab Emirates' Dr. Abdullah Al-Mandes has been elected as the new president of the World Meteorological Organization (WMO). Solo won a landslide vote at the UN Climate and Weather Agency's Congress in Geneva. Solo has served as the director of Argentina's National Meteorological Service since 2014. In a statement, she said that in the times when inequality and climate change are the greatest global threats, the WMO must contribute to strengthening the meteorological and hydrological services to protect populations and their economies. Dr. Abdullah Al-Mandes secured 95 votes out of representatives from WMO's 193 member states and territories. The leadership election of the World Meteorological Congress takes place every 4 years. The agency plays a key role in coordinating international meteorological work. It relies on satellites and thousands of weather stations to measure key parameters of the atmosphere, land, and ocean. At least 9 persons have been killed in protests in Senegal's capital, Dakar, and other cities following the sentencing of opposition leader Ousmane Sonko on Thursday to 2 years in prison. The court found Sonko guilty of corrupting youth, according to state media, but cleared him of other charges, including rape. He can appeal the ruling within 15 days, but his chances of participating in next year's presidential election now sees dim. Government spokesperson Abdou Karim Fofana said authorities were working to maintain order in the disturbed cities, while Interior Minister Anthony Felix Diome said that in a press conference that social media and messaging apps were restricted to limit fake news. Sonko's political party, PASTEF, Patriots of Senegal for Ethics, Work and Fraternity, said that the verdict was politically motivated as he is challenging President Macky Sall's government. In Turkey, the Turkish Supreme Election Council has officially declared Recep Tayyip Erdogan as the winner of presidential election runoff with 52.18% of the votes. Erdogan was re-elected as the president in runoff polls, where he contested against the presidential nominee of Turkish opposition bloc Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu. Kılıçdaroğlu has 47.82% of the votes. The presidential runoff was held on the 28th of May after neither the candidate secured over 50% of votes in the 14th of May elections. Erdogan will take the oath in parliament on Saturday and then announce his new cabinet. India is said to remain the United Arab Emirates' largest export destination by 2030, according to a new report by Standard Chartered. The report, titled Future of Trade, New Opportunities and High Growth Corridors, forecasts that the UAE's exports will reach around $543 billion by 2030, showcasing a robust annual growth rate of 5.5%. The report also highlights that trade corridors anchored in Asia, Africa and Middle East are expected to outpace the global trade growth rate by almost 4 percentage points, propelling the combined trade volume in these regions to an astounding $14.4 trillion, accounting for 44% of global trade by 2030. The report also noted that the UAE is taking steps to diversify its economy away from oil, which will help to further boost its exports. The UAE is investing in new sectors such as manufacturing, tourism and logistics, the report said. In the Indian Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, a terrorist was killed in an encounter with security forces in Rajouri district on Friday. Our Jammu correspondent reports that an encounter broke out between security forces and terrorists during a cordon and search operation in the forests of Dasal Gujran. The security forces launched a cordon and search operation on the intervening night of Thursday and Friday after noticing suspicious movement in the forest. The search operation turned into an encounter after the terrorists fired upon the forces. Security forces retaliated, and in the gun battle, one terrorist was killed. Key domestic indices ended with marginal gains in a highly volatile session. The Sensex at the Bombay Stock Exchange finished above 62,500 mark, while the Nifty at the National Stock Exchange settled above 18,500 level. Both indices rose amid positive cues from global share markets. A report from the business desk.
The Sensex rose 119 points or 0.2% to finish at 62,547. The Nifty also appreciated 46 points or 0.25% to end at 18,534. Asian stocks surged as the bill was approved to raise US debt ceiling, which helped perk up investors' appetite for risky assets. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index rose 3.9% and South Korea's Kospi surged 1.3%. Japan's Nikkei 225 appreciated 1.2% and China's Shanghai Composite Index accelerated 0.8%. Singapore's Straits Times Index was closed on account of Vesak Day. European markets were also up in intraday trade. Oil prices rose more than 1.5% after a US debt ceiling deal averted a default in the world's biggest oil consumer, while attention turned to a meeting of the OPEC ministers and their allies at the end of the weekend. In intraday trade, Brent crude was trading at $75.46 per barrel. Back home, gold prices at the multi-commodity exchange for June contracts were trading at around 60,160 rupees per 10 grams. On the other hand, silver was trading at 72,730 rupees per kilogram for July contracts when reports last came in. And in the forex market, the rupee appreciated 11 paise to close at 82 rupees and 31 paise against the US dollar. S. Rangabashyam for World News.
In Thailand Open Badminton, in men's quarterfinal, Indian shuttler Lakshya Sen defeated Malaysia's Jun Hao Leong 21-19, 21-11 to enter the semi-finals of Thailand Open 2023. Earlier, in another quarter-final match, Indian shuttler Kiran George was defeated by French player Thomas Popov by 16-21 and 17-21. Let us now take a look at the major developments around the world, as reported in the foreign press. The Guardian writes, Zimbabwe outlaws criticism of government before August elections. Le Monde reports, Senegal erupts in anger after conviction of opponent Ousmane Sonko. Khabar Hub writes, 3 persons including former Vice-Chancellor of BP Koirala Institute of Health Sciences found guilty of misappropriation. The Globe and Mail writes, thousands of police to enforce Hong Kong ban on Tiananmen massacre gatherings. A quick look at the headlines once again. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh says government has made transformative changes in defence sector by promoting self-reliance. BRICS foreign ministers call for use of local currencies in international trade. India's Minister of State for External Affairs V. Muralidharan to pay official visit to Maldives from Saturday. US Congress averts historical default, approves debt ceiling bill. Argentina's Celeste Solo appointed as first female Secretary General of World Meteorological Organization. At least 9 persons killed in Senegal protests following opposition leaders' jail sentence. And in badminton, Indian shuttler Lakshya Sen enters semi-finals of Thailand Open 2023. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Denmark.
Vaishnav Jan tu tine kahiye ke peed parai jaane re par dukhe upakar kare toye man abhima.
And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.